It's a chill Friday evening. The house has been left in your care, and you have not a worry in the world. You decide to boot up the old PC and wake up to a volley of messages from your friend who constantly reminds you that they have a social life outside of their sex doll.
Hey man, I hope you checked out a new episode at the time I got reincarnated into a refrigerator. On the front lines and sold my soul to the Grand Mistress Pancreas.
Oh yeah. Uh, don't worry. I'll get to it sometime soon.
Yeah, sure you will. Anywho, there's this cool new game. I heard it's some pretty wall-breaking stuff.
Oh, what's it called?
Oh, well, I believe it was called...
You toss it a chance, believing it'll be just another glorified dating sim. But as you progress, you begin to feel so strangely enamored by all the quirks of the characters and the personality which flares within the club. As time passes on without you realizing, a fracture has shown. Your friend Sayori, once so bubbly and charismatic, is nowhere to be seen on some unremarkable day. But soon enough, your soul would awaken to reality. Sayori's ecstasy would begin to bleed, further accentuating the scars the buoyant makeup once hushed. Though you've become aware of the silence which stiffens the life your house once breathed, you mourn. Characters coded to be liked, to be loved, to be sought after, have successfully enamored you. A looming anxiety leeches off of you. At the simple typing of code, Sayori is gone, Yuri is gone, Natsuki is gone. All that remains is just Monika. Who is Monika? Monika is one of the four protagonists among the girls, our protagonist having described her as serene, popular, and completely out of his league. She was freshly retired from the debate club and ended up working vigorously to produce the literature club, Sayori being one of her biggest beginning supporters. As time went on, the fruits of her labor would begin to pay off as she'd grow a small but strong band of friends who she would not only teach to appreciate literature, but would come to learn important lessons for herself along the way. In DDLC Plus, multiple cutscenes further flesh out Monika, as we are shown a multitude of side stories where Monika learns to truly love her members despite their flaws, while also learning to bestow her trust within them. But as all began to align before the events of the main story, an anomaly would crush all of Monika's love for a world she once held so dear. As I delved further into this experience, there was something strange about her. She's sentient. She sees right through me. Sentience. The ability to experience feelings and sensations. A lone definition which sparks much debate within our world, one which makes the individual question all that is them and all that they are. You possess a real soul, a real body. Yet one must wonder, when it comes to the topic of sentience, is it merely a human trait? Or is it an ability to be replicated by the human individual, or by artificial intelligence? As the hunt for sentience and its presence begins to fester upon the minds of many, research leads us to believe that as we are born into the world and develop as infants, we grow to realize that we are an individual, almost as if an epiphany strikes us right in the head. This would be the leading cause to Monika's growing disdain for the world she believed to be hers, but now one that fizzled like sand between her fingertips. All was mundane, and nothing was right. It is heavily implied that she had said epiphany before the events of the game, with a character model having a variety of small details which alluded to such facts, like her black thigh highs compared to the rest of the group's white ones, and her oddly confrontational positioning towards the player unlike the other girls' side stances. A skimmer over Monika's hole-in-wall poem will give us further insight. It couldn't have been me. See? The direction the sparkle protrudes. A noisy neighbor? An angry boyfriend? I'll never know. I wasn't home. I peer inside for a clue. No! I can't see! I reel, blind, like a film left out in the sun. But it's too late. My retinas, already scorched with a permanent copy of the meaningless image. It's just a little hole. Wasn't too bright. It was too deep. Stretching forever and everything. A hole of infinite choices. I realize now that I wasn't looking in. I was looking out. And he, on the other side, was looking in. While the implications seem quite obvious now, for a novice's first playthrough, I originally interpreted the poem to be Monika's documentations of a stalker, detailing the protagonist's obliviousness to who may have caused a literal hole, until they realized they weren't looking in at something, but they were looking back at someone. However, once you tread through the main thread of events, it becomes quite obvious that the signs of Monika's self-awareness were present from the very start, her attempts to contact the player being quite subtle at first. Examples including the previous poem we just discussed, and the small jabs at the player that act as fourth wall breaks. If we analyze the poem's sentence structure, Monika's poetic style is already a striking one, with its slow pace subduing the viewer to carefully interpret each and every line. The first defensive line reads, "It couldn't have been me." I believe this sentiment could be referring to how Monika may not have been the cause of the ostensible hole in wall. Furthermore, we scurry to a line which reads, "A noisy neighbor? An angry boyfriend? I'll never know. I wasn't home." Monika gives up soon after attempting to resolve who may have caused the hole in the wall, but it leaves a parasite crawling within our mind. Was this hole in wall truly caused by a character who was merely coded to have appeared in Monika's backstory? Or is Monika's acknowledgement of sentience all a mistake? Or perhaps a calculated blunder enacted by the pseudo-gods which play a hand in the creation of Monika's world? Moving on, Monika begins to detail her experience of peering into the crevice, a choice amongst an infinite array, which would shatter an already fragile reality. It was too deep, stretching forever into everything, a hole of infinite choices. I realize now that I wasn't looking in, I was looking out, and he, on the other side, was looking in. At this very moment, whether it acted as a blessing or an ugly scar, Monika would begin to realize the whole possessed a soul which stretched across an immeasurable vast distance, a reality whose piercing stare said it all. If we were to ignore the fact that even Monika's sentience is merely an illusion, one must wonder that if babies are still considered human before they develop sentience, could that mean we could apply sentience to an AI? Despite our serious lack of research on what truly is sentient in the world in which we inhabit, non-human species such as elephants, orcas, all demonstrate resilient familial connections and the capability of harnessing deep and fervent complex emotions. If we stray far from the path of humanity and acknowledge that there is strong evidence that other animals are capable of harnessing potent webs of emotions and self-awareness, could artificial intelligence or characters like Monika truly manage to gain sentience, break free from their original programming? For a moment, dear viewer, I ask you to set aside Monika's artificial intelligence, and you put her on the same pedestal of human consciousness, awareness, and morality. Now that we're all on the same pedestal, I'd like to discuss the interesting topic of killing NPCs, non-player characters, within video games. Let's start with Grand Theft Auto 5, a game which heavily satirizes real-life America while bestowing the player a sense of godlike power, each and every NPC being mere fodder for any of the player's desires. If said untitled character exits the player's proximity zone, they cease to exist. If the player wishes to kill them, they can, and will cease to exist. If the player has a lot more scandalous desires, they may satisfy such thirst as well. If we blast ourselves a few years forward, we arrive at the marvel that is Red Dead Redemption 2. Although the player is still given godlike powers in the form of Deadeye, the experience itself remains focused on immersion and depth of the world. As you tear away from an angelic snow's sinking claws into the embrace of the radiant American frontier, one thing becomes very much clear. The world is conscious, and so are your actions. With it being a Rockstar game, your obvious thought is to cause immediate mayhem in the towns which reside amidst the gorgeous greenery. But as you're moments away from falling into your trigger-happy depravity, you analyze the NPCs.
You can't shoot me, my wife is having a baby.
They have routines, they remember your actions, and they know when you are there. For a moment, even if so slightly, you begin to find your conscience bleeding into not only the world, but the NPCs you once thought to be so soulless. You've humanized them. For decades, video games have been bashed and scrutinized for apparently promoting treachery and genocidal tendencies amongst the youth or any unsuspecting victims. And while at face value, exposure to over-the-top violence and gore may lead to a downfall into depravity, there is no substantial correlation that video games would lead an individual to indulging in such treacherous actions, with factors such as previous tendencies and mental health playing a much more significant role as predictors. GTA and Red Dead Redemption are great games within their own right, and even if one has satirical NPCs while another has far more human qualities, killing them is not a warning or sign of psychopathy within the player. What's important is that distinction between reality and fantasy. Now let's look back at Monika, a character to be portrayed as self-aware and conscious, and goes on to commit varying degrees of horrific acts against the people she called her friends. If we are to apply qualities of human consciousness to Monika, is her murder of the Dokis truly reprehensible? Well, yes, the acts committed against them were quite frankly grotesque. Are they as bad as we make them out to be when the world around her was one of artificiality, quite literally a video game one? Individuals in our world will go on to commit actions towards characters in games that to any regular person would seem reprehensible, yet that does not make them a sadistic psychopath. Monika's world did not change, she simply started to pay attention. Moving forward, Once we reach Act 2 of DDLC, and we end up digging through a pile of much more sadistic poems than the original set, with Monika's turning out to be a lot more somber in nature as she goes on to further document her plunge into a painful truth. Save me. The colors, they won't stop. Bright, beautiful colors, flashing, expanding, piercing, red, green, blue, and endless cacophony of meaningless noise. The noise, it won't stop. Violent, grating waveforms, squeaking, screeching, piercing, sine, cosine, tangent, like playing a chalkboard on a turntable, like playing vinyl on a pizza crust. An endless poem of meaningless. Load me. Exploring this poem will lead the reader to acknowledge Monika's growing awareness over the intricacies which act as the foundation of her world's form, describing the binary code as bright, beautiful colors, flashing, expanding, piercing red, green, blue, an endless cacophony of meaningless noise, alluding to the fact she can consciously hear the binary which screeches and tears within her head, slashing every bit of her sanity till it was compromised to its feeble knees. Adding on, Monika's poem can also be a quite literal elucidation of the excruciating experience she goes through when the player chooses to save and load the game, as the poem starts with "Save me" and ends with "Load me." As Monika somberly sauntered down the path of truth, one where a graceful return was out of the question, she not only paid the price of a painful epiphany, but a diminishment of emotional response to a world which was once hers. As the realization consumes every fiber of her being, it leads us to this special poem. Today, I cut my skin open for the first time. It was exhilarating. I think I understand how it feels now. I'm supposed to be the responsible one, though. So, I don't think I'll be doing it again. Unless I decide to kill myself. I left a memento of the occasion below. Though the author of this secret poem was shrouded in mystery, Dan Salvato, the creator of the game, would go on to confirm on DDLC's first year anniversary that this writer on the down low was indeed Monika. Monika goes on to casually discuss the morbid details of her first time committing self-harm, leaving a sample of the occasion in the form of her blood. When the deed was done, she goes on to say that she now understands how a redacted individual feels, with the exonerated person being Yuri. Her apathetic negligence of what she has just done implies her drowning within a sea of nihilism, as she is further forced down by the weight of desensitization. Dan Salvato goes on to further describe the reasoning for the poem's existence. And, she's so casual about the whole thing, because at this point she feels so detached from the universe that she's in, that it's almost like it doesn't even matter to her anymore. The feeling of her feeling physical pain, or doing that sort of thing to herself, she describes it as exhilarating, because it's something that is allowing her to feel something in this universe that has become so incredibly meaningless to her. Needing to bleed to know you're alive. At the edge of her blade lie her sentience, a bitter sacrifice to acknowledge a depleting life. A perfectionist at heart, Monika constantly showed a strong passion for creating a place that allowed others to demonstrate a fervent love for literature and express themselves in ways they otherwise couldn't. Yet that same dedication to perfectionism would lead to her crippling stagnation. If she didn't torture herself enough with the constant self-judgment on each and every action she did, She would keep up the front of Doki Doki Literature Club being a dating simulator before exposing her epiphany, with her refusing to dump her trauma onto the player during their first interaction, willingly playing along with the experience to analyze the situation so she can create a higher chance of obtaining what she so desires. Well, I'm not sure if I know how to put it. I guess you could say that I had some kind of epiphany recently. It's been influencing my poems a bit. An epiphany? Yeah, something like that. I'm kind of nervous to talk about deep stuff like that, 'cause it's kind of coming on strongly. Maybe after everyone is better friends with each other. Though I've sung many praises, Monika is not a character without fault. Her borderline obsessive behavior towards the player and deeply disturbing methods of making the player fall out of line with the others should not go unnoticed, with Sayori being driven to suicide, Natsuki being deleted outright, and Yuri's amplified cravings and loss of self-control. Even if they were merely fabricated cutouts made to be sought after, that discomfort and piercing of reality are all the more real. Monika herself is not a cookie-cutter villain. Whether or not you forgive her is up to you. Though she could not escape the actions of her past, she took forth the responsibility of allowing the player to leave and find their peace, while realizing that happiness could not be found within the clutches of the literature club, a place built out of a passion for allowing others to express themselves in ways they felt they couldn't, yet only faded anguish came as a result. At the end of the day, Doki Doki Literature Club stands the test of time as a game which lures you in with an expected comfort and proceeds to weaponize an established relaxation against you that leaves you wondering about even your own world, making you question if you would have followed in Monika's footsteps if you had the same epiphany. Our time with Monika, though merely a fragment compared to our time together with the other girls, her impact is not. That coral brown haired girl with the gorgeous smile will forever make me think about her, even if she truly isn't real, alongside her sentience. As we drift off away from the terror that was Monika's emotional corrosion from a painful truth, I ask you, dear viewer, to realize in your own life that your choices are conscious, even the tiniest ones. No matter how grim life may seem, I want you to realize that you cannot add days to your life, but you can add life to your days. Arrivederci, everyone.